Hello, my name's Elijah Wells, and today's review is Edward Berger's new movie, Conclave. The movie follows Cardinal Thomas Lawrence, played by Ray Fiennes in the movie, who basically organised a conclave to elect a new pope after the one previously passed away, as popes usually do. And of course, as in for the Vatican tradition, they have to elect a new pope by having all the archbishops and all the cardinals from all around Europe to essentially elect one. But however, things get a lot more complicated for our main character, Lawrence, played by Ray Fiennes, as he uncovers a lot of secrets, a lot of scandals, a lot of dirty laundry, particularly on all of each of the cardinals and archbishops that are pretty much seeking the great one title, being elected the Pope, and of course have the throne of the Holy See. Based off the novel of the same name by Robert Harris, a new movie by the up-and-comer Edward Berger, who already has somewhat of a notable scene, particularly in Germany, as a film director, but it wasn't until 2022 when he really became really big, thanks to his work with Netflix being All Quiet on the Western Front, which won him a slew of Oscars like Best International Film, Best Cinematography, Best Score, and Best Production Design. And of course, naturally, this being currently his first English language movie he has done at the moment, and the movie particularly about a Robert Harris novel, one of the most acclaimed thriller writers of all time at the moment, and particularly about the Vatican Church and how they are very secretive about electing a new pope and what essentially goes behind closed doors while days and days of voting continue literally in the background, and how the intrigue and the politics of the Vatican Church as well as the Catholic Church seems to come in play. The movie as a visual palette is amazing to look at, particularly so much so for the cinematography of Stephanie Fontaine, who basically shot the entire movie, which is again very marvellous to look at, and particularly there are a lot of particular scenes, like there's numerous sequences of the popes the cardinals trying to elect a new pope, most of them to varying degrees of success or varying degrees of breakthrough, and there's one specific shot where they all gather around, usually in groups of 3 or 4, which is again very intriguing visual play. And also there's another shot which I like, particularly with its cinematography, where they all walk past the fountain and they all were holding umbrellas up. Like this is and all like walking slowly, like downwards. Like this is again some very interesting visual play and a lot of mise-en-scène, and how, like I said a billion times on my channel recently, I really like that visual language in that movie and how that definitely does convey well into the movie as well. What I also do like about the movie is that the music, which was done by the previous composer of his aforementioned movie All Quiet on the Western Front, which is done by Volker Bertelmann, which I'm sure if I mispronounce his name, he does use effectively a lot of strings instruments in this movie to essentially reel up the attention, particularly how it all goes down, particularly in the numerous sequences where they try and unsuccessfully try to have a breakthrough about how to elect a pope. And it pretty much again the strings do come and play in this one, essentially as a way to wrap attention, particularly what we've known now about the characters after the last time we've seen from them or heard from them, which is again really interesting. The movie itself plays less like a religious movie or for the more religious crowd of cinema, more of a mystery thriller as a sense, as the movie is essentially Cardinal Lawrence, Ralph Fiennes, who pretty much learns everyone's dirty secrets and going to as far to essentially resort to blackmailing for some of them, or even ward people away for voting for him as Pope, even though it does go into some very dark territory. Particularly the movie does discuss about racism within the Catholic Church, particularly one character who is a far-right reactionary, and also it does talk a lot about sexual abuse again within the Catholic Church. Particularly there is one character who's very popular in his country, who has very conservative social views. Turns out that he had a child and with a female who never left the country until recently bumping into each other, and of course all shenanigans go down. That's just the tip of the iceberg of how really dirty a lot of these people's laundry are. Like, it comes to a point where it's again it's more of a detective drama. The movie boasts some incredible performances in this movie, particularly with Ray Fiennes' character, who plays a dean in this movie, Cardinal Lawrence in this movie, who, during the last Pope's final days, he was wanting to step down, but however, his request was denied. So, particularly after the death and him handling the Conclave, the movie does depict him as a character not just asking God, for a lot of the time, but also doing a lot of soul searching for himself, particularly as he's now in the spider web of everyone's conspiracy. Like, everyone is completely conspiring either against him or against each other. So he has to tread very lightly towards everyone, because he's running into this fear that he will basically not make a lot of friends and will most likely alienate more people than make friends. And of course, his performance of the character, particularly how he is surprisingly a vulnerable person in this movie, and how he's basically just wants it to be done and over with, not in a way that just because it was really stressing them out, like the whole weight of the world looking at him, like him essentially electing a new pope. And also there's another stand-up performance like Benigni being portrayed by Stanley Tucci as an American liberal who's also really good in this movie, and often does cozy up to the side of Cardinal Lawrence a lot in this movie. And again, his performance in the movie is very interesting and does bring to a lot of intrigue to the politics and the issues surrounding the Catholic Church, and as well as the Vatican City as well, and with Lawrence as well. And there's also Tremblay, who's a Canadian moderate in this movie, being portrayed by John Lithgow, who's also very brilliant in this movie. And there's that one standout scene where he's getting confronted in the dining area, and his acting in that movie is also brilliant. There's also Isabella Rossellini, who I best know her for being the ex-wife of Martin Scorsese, and as well for her performance in the 1980s movie Blue Velvet. In this movie, she basically plays a sister who's the head caterer, and a housekeeper, and this, I feel like she does bring a lot of intrigue in this movie, a lot, even though she does go into the background of the movie quite a bit, but she for the very sparse scenes that she's in, and she does definitely shine and give it all of her glory, in my opinion. And the dialogue in this movie, as sharp as it is actually really brilliant of the movie, as well as the movie does again emphasize the more contemporary and as well as historical history of the Vatican Church, as well as the Catholic Church as a whole altogether. And what the movie also does a lot more sharply is how the screenplay does it, as well as the direction, is how the Church has moved on away from complacency, and particularly during these trying times of the Conclave and electing a new Pope. Of course, rivalries will begin to spring up, and of course, the Vatican almost, at some instances, often claims that it goes into more of a civil war territory, as in sides are going to be completely picked, and no one's going to come of it happy, which is again a very intriguing plot, almost like some of an election season type of movie, which is again also very intriguing as well. The Edgar Berger Mystery Villa, even though it does veer into some incredible performances, particularly from Ray Fiennes and Stanley Tucci, the movie does boast some incredible cinematography, and even though, regardless if you're deeply fascinated within the Catholic Church, or like me, doesn't practice Catholic faith but is definitely very interested in the Catholic Church, or someone that they grew up in that environment but walked away from it, I feel like this is a very translucent movie, a very gorgeous movie that depicts the complacency within the Catholic Church and the intrigue and the politics about the conclave, and how the cardinals often place their egos, place their political ideologies as a front, particularly for their campaign to essentially be ascended as the Pope and the throne of the Holy See. Even though the movie it's not everyone's cup of tea, particularly if you're in more of a faith-driven crowd, like if you, watch The Chosen or watch Sound of Freedom, but I feel like you should probably give this movie a chance at this point, because the movie does going some really intriguing territory, particularly on everything about the contemporary church of the Catholics and of the Vatican Church. So I'm feeling an 8 out of 10 on this one. So, what do you think of Conclave? Let me know in the comments down below, and follow me on Twitter and Instagram, as well as Blue Sky and Threads, and follow me on Letterboxd, subscribe to my channel, comment below, and like this video, and dislike as well, and bye.